Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at the Great Facades Passion expansion for Sagrada. This is a game put out by Floodgate Games, and it is basically a dice rolling game, and this is providing 3 different modules that you can add to the game. You can play with all of them at the same time, or you can piecemeal them, whatever you'd like. But let's get down to the table. I'll give you a brief explanation to how you play Sagrada, just so that you have an idea of how the expansion itself changes the game a little bit. So let's get down to the table, and we'll get that done. So just to give you a brief idea of how Sagrada plays so you can understand what's changing in the expansion, everybody's going to have their own little player board here that has a grid that's cut out. And then they're dealt these cards, 2 of them, and they can choose front or back which ones they want to do. There's different levels of difficulty, and that slides right in. It basically gives you a wave that you're going to be playing the game. So basically, yellow dice of any number can go here and here. Green ones of any number can go here and here. Blue ones of here and here. But these can hold any color die, but they have to have that specific number on them, and so forth and so on. In a 4-player game, 9 dice are rolled, and then these are going to be out here, and you're going to draft these colors. So when it comes around to you, your turn, you're going to pick one of these, and let's say I want to use my 4. I can place it here because it's a 4, or I can place it here because it's a green. Either one, that's the case. Or I can use the 5 and I can place it up here, or I can place it out here. Or I can place them out in these things that can have anything, any color or any number. So you pick 1 die, it goes around the table, the last person picks 2 in a row, and then it comes back. So everybody will pick 2. The last one that's left over will be used to denote the round is over. Players also start with private goals that are going to score them points at the end of the game. So for as many reds as you have, you'll total the number of pips that are on all of your red dice, and that's a number of points at the end of the game, and so forth and so on. There's also public objectives that are right here that everybody can do. So for every one of each color that you have, you get 4 points. Here, for every pair of 5s and 6s, you get 2 points each. And then for column variety, so if you have different colors in your columns, no repetitions, then you get 5 points for each of those. All right, so you have these private goals, community goals, and then you also have these tools cards that you can use during the course of your turn to kind of break rules here and there, or do special things, move dice around and reconfigure them, and so on. Whoever has the most points at the end of 10 rounds is the winner. And that's basically Sagrada in a nutshell. One of the things that comes in the Passion expansion, the Great Facades for Sagrada, is new public objective cards. Now, one thing that we do need to make sure we understand here is that some of these objectives will conflict with some of the objectives that are in the base game. So you have to be aware of that when you do this, when you use these. But just to give you an idea, you have horizontal shade symmetry. So if you have a 2 and a 2 that are equidistant from the center column, or a 5 and a 5, or something to that effect, or any matching numbers that are equidistant, you'll get 3 points for each of those pairs. Here, you have diagonal color links in this pattern. You get 2 points for that. Then you also have entwined colors. So every set of entwined color pairs, each die can only count toward a single pair, however. Whenever you have this pattern, checker pattern, you get 4 points for that wherever you have them on the board. Then you have vertical shade balance, where if you have 2s or any matching pair of dice, no matter what color they are, as long as the numbers, the values match on them, equidistant from the top, so the bottom and second from the top, or vice versa. Wherever you have those, you get 3 points each. Here, vertical color balance, virtually the same thing as this, except it's by colors dice and not values. And then you have the horizontal color symmetry, which is exactly like the shade symmetry down here, except it's talking about colors of dice, not the values on them. You get three points for every pair of those. In the Great Facades expansion, you also have inspiration cards, and these are going to be dealt out to the different players as a special player ability that only they can do throughout the course of the game. Some of them are once per round, other ones are once per games, like this one down here. So for example, this once per round, it says you may re-roll a drafting die. If you can't place the die, return it to where it came from. All right, so you can, after the dice have already been rolled, you can draft it, roll it again, and then place it on your board if you'd like to. Over here, it says after drafting, you may spend one favor token. Those are clear tokens that you'll have depending on the difficulty of your starting template card that you chose. You may spend one of those favor tokens to break a color or number restriction when you are placing a die after you've drafted it. All right, so that can be done once per round. Then you have this over here. It says after drafting, you may place the drafting die on this card if it is empty. At the end of a future round, you may place this die in your window instead. So you can draft a die and place it on here, and then on a future turn, you can take that and place it wherever you'd like. So that's kind of like, foreshadowing or so forth. But these are special player abilities, which is pretty cool. It kind of gives you variable player powers in Sagrada. You also have these rare glass boards as well as these rare glass dice that will be coming in the expansion, and only one of these will be used per game, and it will replace one of the tool cards from the base box. So you'll have 2 tool cards and then one of these glass boards placed out. And basically, you can utilize this the glass board by paying a number of influence tokens that's denoted by the board. Sometimes the effect of the board denotes how much influence you have to pay, and then it also has an effect that you can do on your turn. So basically, this one here is a architectural glass, and it says place this die in your window wherever you wish. So if you're using this one, basically you're going to take one of the dice and roll it, and it has a value of 4, and you're going to place that in there like that. Rare glass dice don't have a color attributed to them, so they can be placed anywhere in your window. So if you really need to fill in one of those spots, this can really happen. So you pay 2 influence, you can take this guy, put it anywhere in your window, and then you'll take another die, roll it, and then that takes its place for somebody else to use later on. And that's the general idea for all of these. It's basically just a way for you to finish some of those combinations you're looking for, finish the template that you chose at the beginning of the game, that type of stuff. But other things, it says before placing this die in your window, roll a random die from the bag. If its value matches this die, set this die to any value, return the random die to the bag. So there's a little bit of a thing that you can do there to kind of mix things up. And so this kind of throws the game not really on its head, but it definitely provides a little bit of a twist that you can do as it replaces one of those tool cards that you'll use from the base game. And then there are also rare glass private objective cards that come in the game that, of course, will only be used if you're using the rare glass module from the expansion. But basically, this provides extra points based upon how your rare dice are configured within your template that you've chosen at the beginning of the game. For example, right down here, this one says pairs of the same color or value adjacent to your rare glass die. So if you have pairs of values or colors that are adjacent to wherever your rare glass die is placed within your template, then each pair of those will score you 4 points each, and so forth and so on. So here you have every die with the same value as your rare glass die. So for example, in here it has a 4 as a rare glass die, so all of the 4s are going to be scoring you 3 points each in that specific example. Down here it says the sum values of all of your dice in the row with your glass or your rare glass die, including the rare glass die. So that's why it's a specific number, a non-specific number rather. And so this one would score 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 21 points here if that were your row in your template at the end of the game. So it gives you a basic idea. If you're using the rare glass module, you'll use these also so that you can provide a little bit of a twist or a spin on the actual scoring at the end of the game. So that's that for the Great Facades Passion expansion for Sagrada. Now, I do enjoy Sagrada already. I do enjoy the game. So this expansion for the game actually does a pretty good job. Now, I don't want to foreshadow or anything like that too much, but I did like the expansion. Let's go ahead and get to my pros and cons, though. My first pro of the game is that the component quality matches that of the original game seamlessly. You can't tell so much from just looking at the different colors that are used on the backs of the cards or anything like that. There's not a whole lot of difference that's there, so I like the fact that that happens. Also, the rare glass dice boards are also on par with the original game. So there is a level of seamlessness that goes between the base game and this expansion, which I think helps it in the long run, because you can add this expansion to your base game and nobody will be the wiser, except for the fact that, of course, you'll have that small little rule book for the expansion. And then you can get rid of the box if you're one of those people that actually do that, which I am. I don't think you need to keep an expansion box if the expansion fits in the base box, but that's neither here nor there. The level of seamlessness between the components and the base game is great. So that's a bonus in my opinion. My second pro of the game is that this expansion adds variable player powers to the game, and that's one of the mechanisms that I really enjoy in games. I like it when I can do something that nobody else can do, and it's just a matter of figuring out how I can use that ability to push myself ahead, so to speak, within the course of the game. And while everybody else is trying to do the same thing with their special ability. I like variable player powers, and I like the fact that this expansion adds it to, in a very simple way, Sagrada. My third pro is that I like how this expansion adds different things, but doesn't change the complexity of the game at all. Literally, the rare glass die module is simply replacing one of the tool cards. So you're not adding another layer of rules to the game. You're simply modifying one of the rules that it's already there, and is doing it at a very minimal level as well. So you're still using the same influence tokens to do the ability of the rare glass die, just like you would be doing on the tool cards that are already present. And it's not adding another tool card, it's replacing one of the three that are out there. So it doesn't change anything about the game. It just gives you another kind of choice to make. And I like it when expansions do that. It changes just a little bit of the game so it feels different, but the complexity stays the same. And I think that's great. Now, as far as my cons for the game are concerned, I only have one of them, and that is the fact that I think, and this is just based on my experience with the expansion thus far, that it makes it a little bit more difficult to score points during the course of the game. The number of points that we scored playing the base game alone tracked higher than the number of points that we scored while we were playing the expansion. That may have been on purpose. I don't know. That may just be my experience with the game and its expansion. Some other people might say that, no, that's not the case after more plays, because quite frankly, I haven't played it a lot, but there you have it. So this may or may not be a con. For me, it's a slight con because I like scoring points. And I like everybody being able to score a lot of points. It's just one of those things. So it's a minor con for me. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's a little bit more difficult to score points with the expansion than without, in my opinion. So there's that. So that's about that for the Great Facades Passion expansion for Sagrada. I really enjoyed everything about the expansion. The only thing that was a little bit of a nitpick was the fact that it's harder to score points. And so with that being said, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed the expansion. I thought it was a great addition to Sagrada, and I hope that they do come out with that too, and the second and third expansion that apparently they have planned. So that is that, an 8 out of 10 from me. I really enjoyed the expansion. I hope you will too. Thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.